Hey everyone, Chaps here, and welcome to day 6 of our New Zealand vacation recap, aka Hobbit Day. As usual, if you missed the other days or want some additional background information, there's a couple videos linked down below. Today started off pretty casually. We had a 2-hour drive ahead of us and didn't need to be there until 1:30. We left shortly after 9 and headed to Matamata. This was a pretty uneventful drive. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was lovely, but it was just a lot of the same that we had been seeing for the past few days. The main thing that stood out to me on the roads were that people seemed really good about the whole stay to the left unless passing thing. I know it's supposed to be that way in the US, well, I guess, the opposite direction, but people never really seemed to, follow that rule. Here, people actually followed it, and it worked out really well. For lunch, we stopped at another New World, this time New World Matamata, and we didn't get anything fancy. We got some cold cuts. We got some stuff that would hopefully last us a few days because we're going to be driving around. We don't need to stop at a restaurant for every meal. So yeah, we got some cold cuts, and very importantly, I got some cough medicine for myself. Sadly, it didn't seem to help too much. I still think it might be some plastic bronchitis. At least that's my self-diagnosis. But hey, I'm not going to let it slow me down. After a short 20-minute drive from the store, we got to Hobbiton. We actually arrived quite early. I figured that we could check out the gift shop and some of the area around a bit before we departed. The gift shop really didn't have too much of interest to us, unfortunately. I actually really wanted to get something there, but didn't find anything I liked. When checking in, we were actually asked if we were ready now, like 12:40 rather than our 1:30 time. We said yes, and were instantly sent off to the bus to go load up. I'll say that this meant we didn't have time to go back to the car and get our sunscreen or get water or anything, and that was probably a really big mistake. The tour started with a short 10-minute bus ride out to the farm where all the filming happened. There's a short video showcasing some of the Lord of the Rings stuff, and our guide explained parts of the farm. As we entered the farm, there were tons of cows and sheep that were just right along the road and even on the road, and it held us up for a little bit. It's kind of crazy to see so many of them up close like this. From there, we unloaded and started the on-foot portion of the tour. There were some umbrellas to grab if you so chose, which we did not so choose, but I really wish we had. Not for rain, but for the sun. It was probably close to 80 degrees Fahrenheit out with no clouds, and there was not much shade on the tour. The tour started near the foot of the Shire and weaves by various hobbit holes until you arrive at Bag End at the top. Along the way, there were some fun facts about each of the holes, whose they were, and how they were made. Apparently, after Lord of the Rings, most were destroyed as they were made as temporary structures, but for The Hobbit, they rebuilt them with more permanent materials, thus allowing tours like the one we were on. The foot portion of the tour ended at the Green Dragon, where they had free drinks for us. We aren't beer people, but luckily they had a cider, which was very refreshing at that point after being out in the sun. I don't know if it was just the thirst at this point or the cider itself, but it was quite smooth and delicious cider. And that's another thing I'll say I'm loving about New Zealand is we're not beer people, but almost every place we had, they had multiple ciders to choose from, and that was fantastic. From the Green Dragon, we headed back onto the bus for the final video segment as we headed back towards the Hobbiton base camp. The next stop was the Silver Fern Hotel in Rotorua. Once again, nothing super special about this hotel, but we were pretty pleased with this one. After a short break, we headed out to the Maori village for a cultural experience and feast, and I don't know if this is Maitaya or how you pronounce it. I'm terrible with foreign pronunciations. Anyways, it's a Maori village that's supposed to be keeping up with the culture and tradition in the area. This one really caught us off guard. There were 200 people there. On our way over, we were joking. We knew that it was going to be a group, but we were wondering, okay, is it going to be 5 people? Is it going to be a big group, 50 people? But 200? We were not expecting 200 people there. We started by everyone taking their seats at an assigned table. This was a bit disappointing as it was just standard folding tables basically with some plastic covering on it. I had really hoped for something a bit more authentic for lack of better words. Oh, and it was in some boring building, not some big hut or something fancy. After a brief intro, we headed down to the river to see some of the tribe members rowing a warrior canoe. It was sort of cool, but also a bit uneventful. What was cool was the natural spring that we walked by on our way down. That's actually where the water at our table was coming from. Heading back up, we got to see them unveil, I believe it's pronounced hangni, which is a traditional way of cooking food in a pit called an umu. Basically, it's white-hot rocks in a pit with food in baskets over top, and then covered with plants and tarps to trap the heat in and cook the meat. Next, we were brought over to a ceremony. This was a welcome ceremony, a dance presentation, a demo of some of their tools and weapons, and it was pretty entertaining and informative. Also, sorry, I didn't want to be that guy who's sitting there. I was actually pretty close to the front, so I didn't want to be, like holding my phone up, taking pictures and videos the entire time. So I took this one pretty early on, and that's the only picture or video I took. I just didn't want to be that guy who's, disrupting everyone else behind me. While we were at that presentation, they were back chopping up all the meat that they had cooked and preparing a buffet. So I'm just going to read off the list here. We had chicken, lamb shank, stuffing, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes. That was all from the Hogni. And then they also had, I believe they were like potatoes gratin, however you want to say it, rice, some creamy sauce that was actually delicious, salad, and garlic bread. The sweet potatoes were the only thing I didn't really like. I normally like them, but they were, I guess, really fresh and natural. The skins and roots on them were very chewy, and I didn't really like that too much. The other food was amazing, and I'll say it was the best food that we had on that vacation. And they brought in some dessert as well, a few cakes, a chocolate roll, which was great, and we really overate, and we were just completely stuffed by the end of this. I mentioned that this was all sitting at sort of standard tables with a group. We had 8 people with us. And it was really cool to see the different nationalities. We were the only Americans at our table. There was a guy from Italy, a group of ladies from the UK, some girls from Australia. It was really cool just hearing the various languages and the accents, not just at our table, but from all the people all around. Hearing all the accents, but then also talking to them and finding out more about their perspectives and their norms and where they're from. My favorite thing was this lady sitting right across from us who was really questioning. She heard some American girl saying that she had never heard of custard before for a dessert thing. They had like a warm custard to put over some of the cakes. So she asked us about it, and we're like, yeah, we have cold custard and like pudding and stuff like that in the US, but we don't really have the warm custard. We have it, it's just not a common thing. And she was amazed by that. And then she was even just completely blown away when she's like, but what do you put on Christmas pudding? It's like, that's not common in the US either. But alright, enough about the food. So after that, we had a short Q&A session to learn a bit more about their culture, and then a walk through the woods at night. We got to see sort of a recreation of their village. They're not living there now. The Maori people are mostly just intertwined with everyday people and just living their lives, but they recreated this village to sort of show what things would have been like. We also, while we were walking through at night, we did get to see a few glowworms out in the woods, like basically little blue lights of worm larvae in the trees. That's kind of cool. From there, we just got back in the car, went back to the hotel, and passed out, because, that seems to be a tradition for us at this point, is do a bunch of stuff, get completely wiped out during the day, and just, pass out at the hotel. Tomorrow, we are going to explore more of Rotorua, the town that we're just in for that Maori village event. And tomorrow has one of the things I am most excited for, so if you don't want to miss that, go ahead and subscribe and turn on notifications. Go ahead and like the video if you think we earned it or if you found it helpful. If you have any questions about any of the things we did along this trip, go ahead and leave a comment down below or hit me up on Twitter. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll catch you next time. See ya.